Well, hey, what's going on? Nick Kirby here. Welcome into a special edition of Chatterbox Reds as the Cincinnati Reds sign their first free agent of the offseason. Reds sign right-handed pitcher Keegan Thompson. We just recorded an hour and 20-minute episode of Chatterbox Reds that was released on Tuesday morning. And here we are back again for a very short and brief episode talking about Keegan Thompson and also some other Reds news coming up in just a minute. But Keegan Thompson was a third-round pick of the Chicago Cubs in 2017, where he spent his entire big league career in the Cubs organization. He pitched in 104 career MLB games, 23 starts total, the rest of it in relief from 2021 to 2024, with a 4.09 ERA and 4.19 FIP. His best year was in 2024, a 2.67 ERA, 3.86 FIP in 30 in the third innings. Also, the first time he had double-digit Ks in the big leagues at 10.7. He also threw 27 and a third innings at AAA in 2024. Pretty much he was shuffled up and down between the big leagues and AAA from 2021 to 2024. However, before opening day 2025, he did not make the Cubs opening day roster, and he was DFA'd as he was out of options. Cubs couldn't shuffle him up and down. Cubs were able to, I guess, pass him through waivers and keep him. Spent all of 2025 at AAA, and by ERA actually had his worst minor league season of his career. Had a 4.50 ERA, 3.87 FIP in 64 innings. He did spend a month on the IL in 2024 when he was in the minors. Did put up big strikeout numbers as he's done throughout his career. 11.7 K per nine at AAA in 2025. He's over 10 in nearly 300 career minor league innings. Now, as you might have guessed by now, walks, they are the issue for Thompson, as they are with many pitchers that the Reds are able to pick up off of somewhat of the scrap heap. He walked 5.4 batters in 2023 and then walked 6 batters per 9 innings in 2024. Has, however, been much better in the minors. Actually, last year was at a somewhat respectable 3.5 walks per 9 innings. So, the details of the contract, what we know so far for Keegan Thompson, it is a split contract, similar to what the Reds did with Austin Wynns last year. Charlie Goldsmith reported that $1.3 million is prorated if he plays in the big leagues, and then $350,000 in the minor leagues. Also has a performance bonus that is worth $100,000. Not sure what opt-outs he has or what they look like. He is technically out of options, so not sure if the Reds are able, no matter what, to send him down to the minor leagues, or if he's completely, it's completely up to him. But I think the Reds like to have these contracts already in place. I think the players also like that as well, if I remember right, with Austin Wynns. But nonetheless, the Reds will have him, and if they like what they see in spring training, they have the absolute ability to put him on the big league roster. Now, as for Thompson and his stuff, he's a lower velocity pitcher. Fastball only averages 93 miles per hour, but he does throw 6 different pitches: a four-seam fastball, cutter, curveball, sinker, sweeper, and changeup. Thompson's sweeper graded out as his best pitch, but every other pitch except for his sinker rated above average by Pro Stuff Plus. Pro Stuff Plus predicts the run value of each pitch. 100 is average, and if you look here on the screen, if you're watching, if not, I'll do my best for the podcast listeners to explain it. The sweeper at 110, Pro Stuff Plus, so that's very good. That's in towards the sort of, I guess, elite range there. The other pitches above average, the four-seam at 101, the cutter at 102, curveball at 101, and then the changeup at 101 as well, the sinker at 95 miles per hour. But certainly it's a lot to like there with this Pro Stuff grade. So, look, this is a low-risk signing for the Reds, but the fact that the Reds are signing him on November 4th makes me believe that they see something that they like. Now, is it a guarantee that they found a diamond in the rough here? No. But I think the fact they're signing him this early means they clearly like something about Thompson, his arsenal. Maybe the Reds think they can do more with him. And as I've talked many times so far this offseason, bullpen is one of the most underrated aspects for the Reds. Now, Thompson could be a guy the Reds sort of use in like a Nick Martinez type role where maybe he starts a little bit, maybe he relieves. Maybe there's a much more budget-friendly option of that. Very poor man's Nick Martinez, who I think is underrated in some capacities. But nonetheless, the Reds clearly see something they like out of him. They'll have an opportunity. The Reds need to get, I think, as many of these type of guys as they can to hopefully kind of rebuild that bullpen, because it is going to probably look quite a bit different than it looked last year, and the Reds need more options. And you can't put in a ton of money into a bullpen when you're a small market team, but you have to hit on the low level signings, and the Reds have done that. They've done that with guys like Ian Jabot. Hopefully this can be another success story. There was more Cubs news, though, on Tuesday. Shota Imanaga is now entering free agency, somewhat surprising. The Cubs rejected an option. Now, this is a little confusing, but they rejected an option that would have extended his contract out to 2028, and then that gave him the ability to decline his $15 million player option for 2026, which triggered his ability to become a free agent. So Shota Imanaga, now a free agent, very talented pitcher. He's dominated the Reds at times, but really struggled for the Cubs down the stretch and in the playoffs. So he's now a free agent. Interested to see kind of where he ends up. Cubs also traded relief pitcher Andrew Kitteridge back to the Orioles for cash consideration. So 3-ish players the Cubs lost on Tuesday. All right, some more news from the Reds. We finally got some clarity on the budget for 2026, and it's not very surprising. Reds President of Baseball Operations Nick Krall said about next year's budget, this quote courtesy of Mark Sheldon, "Our 2026 payroll will be around the same as our payroll in 2025. So pretty much expected. I think we were hoping it would be a little bit more, but it is what it is. Good point from our friend Gingersaurus Rex over on Twitter. He pointed out that it's possible they still don't have a good idea of the TV money they're getting for 2026. Remember, last year they had no idea, and I don't think they have a contract yet with FanDuel Sports for next season. Could be wrong on that, but I don't think they certainly have it set in stone. But Gingersaurus Rex pointed out that late switch last season gave the Reds the extra money, which allowed them to get Rogers, Barlow, Miley, and Hayes. So I'm not sure if maybe this is the budget now, but if the TV deal works out better than they think, or if there's some other money that comes from somewhere else, maybe they have more. So if the budget's around the same, it would be pretty hard to go out and get a guy like Kyle Schwarber. I think the Reds would probably have to trade someone, either a Brady Singer, Hunter Green, which we've already talked. I don't like that idea to save money. I mean, obviously, you get a big prospect haul or other players back as well. But it seems like Schwarber would pretty much take up every wiggle room you have. Because the Reds, I think, are around $90 million to get to about $120. That's pretty much Schwarber right there alone. So again, as I look at this, I think the Reds' most likely path to improve their offense is going to be through trade, as I've said many times so far this offseason. I think that's probably what happens. Who they trade for, I don't know. I think Adolis Garcia would be certainly, I think, one of the guys that would be at the top of the possibilities of the Rangers that we talked about. Taylor Ward, if the Angels finally decide, hey, he's in his final year, we'll actually finally move on from him. I think those are two guys there. There's certainly other ones that would fit that mold as well. I think those would be two of the top ones for trade candidates. They could go the free agent route with someone a little cheaper. Eugenio Suarez, I think, is certainly likely. Reds were in talks at the trade deadline now that he's a free agent. And he did kind of struggle down the stretch, which might take his cost down a little bit. As an older player, I don't think he's looking for that long of a deal. I think you might be able to get him for 15, maybe 20 a year for the next couple of years. I think if you did that and you said, hey, here are our first baseman, DH, or third base insurance if something happens to Brian Hayes, I think that could make sense. Guys like Josh Naylor as well could fit that sort of mold as well. But we'll certainly see. We'll continue to follow all the news as free agency officially begins on November 6th. Now you're saying, well, the Reds just signed a free agent. Keegan Thompson was able to be signed before because he was not on the Cubs 40-man roster. So players who have been on the 40-man roster, they officially are able to begin signing on November 6th, which is just a couple days away. GM meetings start November 10th, and then we got some big stuff, the Rule 5 protection on November 18th. The November 21st is the non-tender deadline, and then after that, the winter meetings at the beginning of December. So stay here with Chatterbox Reds for all your off-season Reds content. We'll continue to bring it for you. And then we got all kinds of content on Chatterbox Sports. I know the NFL has been crazy on Tuesday with trade deadline talk. As I'm recording this right now, the fellas on Chatterbox Bengals are doing a live show recapping the deadline. But Chatterbox Sports, we have videos nonstop on our YouTube page, and then Chatterbox Bengals everywhere you get podcasts. Off the Bench where you get podcasts, Stone Shield Show covering the NFL just about every single day. Links to all that in the episode notes below and podcasts. And if you're on YouTube, just start clicking around Chatterbox Sports. All kinds of good stuff there. All right, well, appreciate you tuning in today. We'll talk again soon as more news breaks. And, of course, as I mentioned at the beginning, there's an hour and 20 minutes of Reds talk that was released on Tuesday morning. So if you found this one first, you're looking for something to podcast version, go back and listen to that. Had a good conversation with Mike Hart. We talked about a lot of stuff. Well, until we talk again soon, go Reds.